Yeah, well, I am an NC State graduate. So I graduated from state in 1984. That's actually where I got my start in radio. I started working at the campus radio station and decided I really liked it. And one thing led to another. And yeah, back in the summer of 1987, the Duke Network, which at that time the play-by-play voice was a legend, Bob Harris, and their color man was Wes Chesson, who was one of the all-time great receivers in ACC history. And they had a third member of their crew who had been working the sidelines, but they had him come up to the booth to become the producer engineer. And they had heard me doing some high school football games on the radio for a couple of years. They needed a sideline guy. And so they called me up in the summer of 87. Hey, you want to have lunch? You want to talk to you about something? I went to have lunch. They offered me the gig. It was very limited at that time. It was more like a standard sideline reporter where you're reporting on injuries or things that you're hearing on the sidelines and things like that. You know, that was when I was just starting out. Now I'm more of a sideline analyst. I'm much more involved with commentary during a football game than maybe a standard sideline reporter you'll see on TV. That was a limited role, but it was, you know, I got my foot in the door and an opportunity to show what I could do. And it was a good time to start at Duke because my first year in 1987 at Duke was also Steve Spurrier's first year as the head coach.
Right.
And that was a lot of fun because Duke had not been very good in football for a while, and Steve Spurrier changed things. And those 3 years he was there, 87, 88, 89, they had a lot of success. They were fun to watch. They were exciting because at that time in football, Steve Spurrier was he was ahead of the game. He was taking offense to another level, and he seemed to outmatch just about everybody they played with their offense. His offense was a little bit more elaborate than you saw back then, and he was just ahead of his time. I mean, eventually it caught up, and everybody's like that now. But so yeah, I did. So I started football in 1987. Then they had an opening on the basketball crew too for the 92-93 season. And so I started doing basketball at Duke as well. We had a 3-man crew. It was me, and I was the producer, engineer, pregame host, postgame host. But they were looking for a color analyst, and they started talking to some of their former players. And they eventually hired one of their former players to become the color analyst. He had no broadcast experience whatsoever. I remember Bob Harris and I were talking on the phone. I said, "What do you think of this guy? You think he can do it? He's never broadcast a game in his life." Bob said, "Well, yeah. We got to give him a shot and see what he can do." So they gave him a chance, and it worked out pretty well because his name was Jay Bilas.
I said it worked out very well for him.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, so Jay did radio with us for 2 or 3 years, and then he started getting the TV offers. And you know, he was a natural. He knows his stuff. Obviously, he played the game at a high level. He was a graduate assistant coach when Duke won their 2 national championships in the early '90s. But he never took his knowledge for granted. And this is why Jay has gotten where he is now. Really, always prepared. Jay was prepared. He went over the scouting reports. He made a lot of notes. And he was determined to be good at it. I mean, he's one of those guys that knows enough about the game where he could have just shown up and done a pretty good job. But Jay wanted to be better than that. And that's why you see where he is now, arguably the best analyst in college basketball.
Certainly. You know, Spenser and Jay Bilas are they're kind of close friends, aren't you?
I wouldn't call us close friends, but maybe just friends. We'll just say friends.
No. Right? You were bragging today about having his email, so let's air it all out.
Okay. Well, so you know, Jay loves managers.
Yes, he does.
Exactly. So yeah. I actually went to and worked his camp that he does in Charlotte. Actually, my first year before I came to UNCW. So I consider Jay a friend.
Jay's America's friend. Everybody knows Jay now, right?
Right. That's right.
He's become one of the most famous people on TV, I would imagine. But yeah, I worked with Jay, and he was fun to work with. He's a good guy, and you know, we still cross paths during the basketball season because he'll do some NC State games every now and then, and it's always good to catch up with him.